The pj-fleck-show is brought to you by Cub Foods and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota. It's the pj-fleck-show with Hobie Artigue, Ron Johnson, and Justin Gaard. Let's row the boat.
Well, the winding road of the season is starting to come to a close, but there's still one more road game left this season for the Gophers, and it comes this weekend at Indiana. Welcome to another edition of the PJ Fleck Show. As always, joined by Gophers head coach PJ Fleck, as well as former Gopher receiver Ron Johnson, KFAN's Justin Gaard. I'm Hobie Artigue, and coach, to start things off, guess what's the response been like from your team after what happened in Iowa City? Not in control of your own destiny anymore, but still quite alive in the race right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our team has responded really well all year to adversity, to success. I mean, you know, our whole goal is to get the most out of this football team we possibly can and to be a really together football team. And we said at the beginning of the year, and it doesn't mean you're going to win every game, doesn't mean you're going to lose every game, but you got to continue to get the most out of your players. And from the personnel, from the start of the year to what it looks like now, very, very different. But these guys are giving everything they have, and we had a great week of practice.
Yeah, Coach, and when you look at the stat sheet, I mean, for every metric, if you were to break it down, you would assume the Gophers had won that game. Human nature, how hard is that for like your human nature to creep in and just want to, you know, think about that game, even though your job is to flush it, move on like every coach does? But is this one of the tougher ones to kind of move past when you look at those numbers where turnovers, time of possession, everything went your way?
Yeah, I mean, they're all hard, Ron. I mean, they really are. I mean, they're all difficult to get over, but you got to get over them really quickly in 24 hours. And we do a really good job at doing that. We've had plenty of games on the stat sheet where we shouldn't have won a game, and we did. Sometimes we're on the stat sheet, we shouldn't have won the game, and we lost. This is one that we, on the stat sheet, it looks like a game that we won. If you just look at it with, like you said, time of possession, yards, points, but unfortunately we didn't make enough plays. We had plenty of opportunities to do that, and it was going to take one more. We just didn't do enough and do what it takes to win that football game. And with this particular football game, it was going to take one more takeaway. We dropped 2 interceptions. We didn't stop somebody on a 4th and 1 sneak. You get one of those, and it's a different ball game.
And also, if you connect a little bit more in the passing game, as you talked about on the radio show, you felt like you would have been in a good spot as well. So as you went back and looked at the passing game and then moved it forward to this week, what did you see on Saturday, and how have your receivers responded as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we catch 3 passes, I mean, we're not even talking about the passing game. You know, I mean, that's the one thing that if you catch those 3 passes, the ones we talked about, you know, I think it's a different football game. It's at least a different story, right? Because it gives you a better chance. And we had 2 third down ones that we didn't complete. We also had 2 third down and long defensive plays where they ran the football and were able to get the first down. So. And again, if Iowa would have lost the game, they would have had plenty of opportunities to look at their film and say we could have, would have, should have. So we don't live in the world of that. It is what it is at that particular time. We didn't play well enough, didn't make enough plays to win that particular football game. When you're on the road playing a top 15 team, it just shows how good this football team is that we have, how far we've come, even despite all the injuries and all the things that we've had. It's unfortunate we didn't win the game, but you know, we're getting the most out of our guys, and that's all I can ask.
Coach, on the outside, the quarterback position, many times this season, it's been in the crosshairs on social media, but that is an external factor, and that is just that. Last I checked, Twitter's not the real world. It's not a real place. As for Tanner, what do you expect his response to be like in the final 2 games of the season? Because we've seen games like he has against Bowling Green and then bounces back with a game against Purdue. What are you looking for from him moving forward down the stretch of this season?
Yeah, just consistency and response, what he's always done. I wouldn't expect anything less. You know, and he's a really tough young man. And, you know, social media is a fake world. I mean, if you want, I said this before, if you don't want to be criticized, then say nothing, do nothing, and become nothing. Then you will not be criticized. It's just part of our, look at every single sports website, any Twitter account, any person that's out there in the public is always going to be criticized. Politician to coach to player to anybody, they're going to be criticized. Business people. I mean, teachers, everybody's criticized. And our world is so easy. It makes it so easy to criticize people. And the only way to get around that, again, is to say nothing, do nothing, and become nothing, which these young men in this program are not going to do. They are going to say a lot. They are going to do a lot, and they're going to become whatever they want to become. And they will be criticized, and that's part of it.
Yeah, Coach, I'm learning about the Twitter criticism a lot this year.
Social media is not real. How did that take you? That's where you live. Are you okay?
Hey, as long as the checks keep coming, I'm good.
All right.
But, Coach, when you look at the running backs.
And that's how people don't really realize. I mean, some people get paid on how many tweets they put out there.
Exactly.
Ron doesn't. That's what makes it so scary for how many he tweets. That's all right.
When you look at, Coach, when you look at what's going on with your running backs, Bucko Irving and Kai Thomas specifically. I mean, you look at him go downhill, run Dane Belton over. You see him put his foot in the ground, make a guy miss. So he's kind of showing, one, yes, I'm a freshman, but I can still bring it. And then same with Irving. It's kind of like a switch up where you have a guy that's quick twitch, fast. How has their growth been so good for you to see that this season?
Well, first of all, when you lose 5 tailbacks, that's not a good scenario.
Correct.
And I've never been involved in that, never seen that happen. But it's a good thing it shows the depth and the strength of our recruiting process, because you're on your 6th and 7th back who are both freshmen, and those guys are the future of the program, and they're pretty darn good. And to your point, they're kind of like a little bit of a thunder and lightning. Now with Bucko's going to get bigger. He's going to gain 10, 15 pounds in the offseason. He's already come back. He's only been here 3 months. So when you talk about Kai, he's been here a year. He's going to keep getting better. You add to him the freshman we're going to bring in this year. You get Bryce Williams back. Hopefully you get Trey Potts back. Maybe Muhammad comes back. Look at that backfield. I've never been told this was all or nothing, an all or nothing year. We've won some really close games. We've lost 3 one-possession games, and we're so close. And but it just shows the consistency of where we're at, especially with the recruiting depth and where the program's headed.
I was a little concerned going into the Iowa game because I've seen it for 50 years against Iowa. It's tough to run the ball inside on them. And to your credit, we just saw the highlight package. You brought in that toss play that we really haven't seen all year. I don't know if we've ever seen that from you guys. When did you know that was going to be effective, and what type of effectiveness did that give you? Because you went to it a lot and it gave you a lot of success.
And we did it in 2017, 18. I sprinkled in it a little bit in 19. But we wanted to get them in space. That's the best way to attack Iowa, at least this Iowa defense. We had to get them in space. And Bucko's so good at seeing the spatial awareness of where defenders are and cutting off his blocks. He's so explosive. He's so quick. Again, this is a true freshman that's been here 3 months and playing at the level that he's playing, and doing it in a year where you're just supposed to learn and grow. Well, he's learning and growing in the action. I could be more proud of these guys. I think that gets lost. I couldn't be more proud of them. They're giving everything they have. They are playing their hearts out, their souls out. That doesn't mean you're guaranteed to win every game. It's the Big Ten. It's the Big Ten. It's hard to win every single game. These guys are giving everything they can, especially those young guys. Offensive line is too. We've kind of relied on them all year. We just got to be better. We just got to find a way to be able to get those types of wins in those one-possession games. And right now we're 3-3 in one-possession games. And, if we're 5-1, it's a different story.
Talking about the run game, you can't talk about it without talking about your offensive line. They had a rough day against Illinois. I think everybody kind of saw that kind of playing out whenever you guys played the Illini. But they really set the tone, especially in the ground game against Iowa. What did you think of their response after they were kind of pushed around a week before?
Well, I thought they responded incredibly well. We played 10 games, and I think out of 9 of those games, they've done great. We focused on the one, the 10% of what they've done, maybe not up to the standard of what we have for them. And that's pretty good when you look across the board at up front, consistency, what they're asked to do, how they're asked to do it. But these guys are very veteran players. They got a lot of guys behind them who have played a lot of football too. So, the one thing you have to continue to do is keep developing that offensive line. But these guys are resilient. Our tight ends are resilient. I thought this was a major challenge for us going into Iowa, especially with all the offensive players we've lost. But when you look at what we've done and you look at over 400 yards of offense, you look at the 22 points scored, those are the top 3 that's ever been done against Iowa this year. One, ranked number 2 against them and one ranked number 3 against them in yards and points. So again, to Ron's point, if you would have kind of saw those stats on paper, you probably would have thought we had a victory, but that's why stats don't matter.
Yeah, Coach, you're looking at Keith. I mean, last week his hair took the world by storm. This week it was the fumble, rumble, tumble into the end zone. When you saw that and you look at what he's being able to bring to this team, I mean, one, we know he's probably one of the best blockers in college football, and now you add the one-handed catch, you add the long touchdown. I think I lost probably my voice and about 5 pounds running up and down the living room with him trying to get him to the end zone. But how excited are you to see him grow?
I'm very excited. You know, you'd love to have him around 2-3 more years. You know, I mean, he's the heart, the soul, and kind of he's more of like the enforcer on the team. You know, he's got an attitude. You know, I mean, he loves the game of football. He's tough. And, you know, this was the 4th and 2 call that we had. We wanted to be really aggressive with it. And, you know, we were. It worked out really well. But this is a young man from Iowa. I mean, we really wanted to get that pig for him. I think there was only one captain this week, and it was Co. But tell him once we get that pig back at some point, you know, he gets a whole day with it.
What was it about that situation, PJ, to call that play out of, I guess, the Wildcat, the Cole Kramer package is what we kind of call it on the radio, but what was it about that situation that made that the perfect time to call that?
Yeah, just set up. They were playing cover zero. We knew they'd play cover zero in a short yardage type situation, and we knew we could get that play. And it was a really good play call in that particular time. It has to be executed perfectly. There's zero margin for error on that. And I thought they did a really good job executing that, the players.
Coach, you mentioned just a few minutes ago talking about the 10% of the season. That's kind of the case for your defense, too, because they had been bend but don't break just so many times this season, but then gave up some big missed tackles in that game against Iowa. You mentioned the dropped interceptions, some uncharacteristic things from what we've seen in 2021 from them. What do you hope to see from them on Saturday?
Just a response. You want to see a response. You want to see them play way better. You know, but we played really well and then just had a few explosive plays, missed some tackles. And that's the difference in the game. I mean, when you're playing championship football and you're playing for a championship and you're playing for a rivalry, I mean, it's going to come down to those 1 or 2 things, those narrow margin for errors. And Iowa made mistakes. We made mistakes. But again, who can recover from those the best? And I tell you, that 16 had a really good game. He had 2 big catches, 2 long catches. He's a really good player. And unfortunately, you know, he made those plays against us.
All right, well, it's on to Indiana, though, as the Hoosiers are up next on the schedule. We take a look at it coming up next on the pj-fleck-show. The final road trip of the season for the Gophers as they get ready to take on IU. We take a look at that team looking for its first win in Big Ten play when we return on the pj-fleck-show.
Let's row the boat. You're watching the pj-fleck-show.
Well, Coach Fleck, you're back on the road this weekend. The final road trip of the season. Hard to believe it as you take on Indiana. Coach, things have not gone the Hoosiers' way this season. They've dealt with a ton of injuries at important positions, namely quarterback. What do you make of these Hoosiers here late in the season?
Why don't you guys talk about more of that about us?
What do you want to talk
We
about?
did.
You know, I mean, that's why, you know, I mean, geez, we can't get a break that way. I'm just kidding, Hobie. First of all, we told our team this is an 8-2 football team. Okay. This is a team that was ranked in the top 10 last year. Every one of their players on defense is a senior. Every one of them. They've played a ton of football. They've also played and lost to 6 top 20 teams, 4 of those teams being ranked in the top 10 at some point. So this is not like a 2-8 out of nowhere football team. They just haven't won some games that have been really close. They've played probably one of the hardest schedules in the Big Ten this year. And it's their senior day. We know they're going to be ready to play. Coach Allen, get them fired up and get them ready to go in their last home game as seniors. And their team is littered. I mean, littered with seniors everywhere. So we need to be at our best. We need to play our best game, and we need to play way better than we did last week.
Yeah, and looking at Penix, you know, he was a stud last year for him. He's been out this year. How has that changed their team and the dynamic in which they look for this, you know, basically the whole season?
Yeah, I mean, there's rumors that he's back, you know, so we're gonna find that out here come, you know, Saturday that he is back. We'll find that out. They've got a freshman with number 0 who's, you know, kind of like a Penix Jr. They've got a walk-on who can throw it. They got Tuttle. I'm not sure if he'll be back. They got 4 quarterbacks. They got Freifogel, who's number 3, a big-time receiver. Their tight end's 86, who's a big-time tight end, maybe the best tight end in the league. They got weapons everywhere. We have to play our best football and be ready to roll.
Well, what are the challenges there, PJ, with like you say, rumors he might be back, rumors they might be back. They've got guys that may or may not be back. You've got a couple of different game plans, I'd imagine, for those types of situations. So when you go into a game that obviously they want to win because it's senior day, it's a lot of their players' last game in Bloomington and all the unknowns, what are the different challenges there?
Well, there's a lot of challenge. You hit it right on the head. We actually have 2 separate game plans, which is very difficult to do, very difficult to structure, organize, and put together. But I think Joe Rossi and his staff done a great job of it. We don't know which one will play, but we have 2 separate game plans, or which one of the 4 will play. We feel like we can divide them in half, where 2 of them are like this and 2 of them are like that. So just in case, and we'll have 2 separate game plans. And whichever one plays, we'll roll with that game plan and then adjust accordingly.
Coach, looking at how your team has played on the road this season, this being the final road game of the year, after playing in front of quiet stadiums last year, it's kind of drastic to go from that and the cardboard cutouts and JG just sitting in the stands to now packed with fans. How have you felt your team has handled after a year playing in front of road crowds once again?
Listen, we have a mentality. We'll play anywhere. We'll travel anywhere, go anywhere, parking lots, baseball fields, football fields, soccer, whoever. We'll go wherever we want to go. Wherever people want us to play. That's the joy. There's a joy to kind of taking your team and your staff and, you know, your organization and putting it on a plane and traveling with your whole organization going somewhere and bringing your program and culture and going to play somewhere else where nobody's going to like you and everybody's against you. There's something really special about that. There's something really cool about that at the same time. And so we embrace all those moments. It's kind of you against the world type mentality, and it really brings you together. You're in a hotel together. Not only that, you see a lot more of each other just, being pregame. So I'd rather be at Huntington Bank Stadium for sure, but there is a joy to traveling on the road that I think is a little bit underappreciated. And
you'll have a familiar face on the sideline this week with this guy right here. Ron Johnson's going to be the sideline analyst for the Gopher Radio Network. Any advice for him, by the way?
Yeah, leave me alone. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, JG gets to go to the Bahamas, everybody. I mean,
that's right.
We're not even, look how happy JG is right now. He hasn't stopped smiling the whole show because he's on his way to the Bahamas here coming up. So, Ron and I will slum it up on the sidelines, but he's over there in the, he's over there in the Bahamas. But that's okay. Ron, we got it, man. Just leave me alone in between calls. Don't tell me what to call.
Well, I'm worried, number one, about him getting a sideline penalty that's going to take you guys back somehow. And number two, we looked at the forecast. It's supposed to rain in the Bahamas like the whole time I'm there, and it's going to be 50 degrees and beautiful in Bloomington. Hobie called that karma because I was wishing for rain for Ron.
You were.
So I guess I wear that a little bit, that it might be raining in the Bahamas.
Oh, Lord.
Man.
How did we get here?
Good luck.
The Bahamas are the Bahamas, man. You're not going to get anybody to feel bad for you.
I'm looking for sympathy. Yeah, I'm looking for sympathy.
Yeah, you're not going to get it.
I'll send you a picture.
No sympathy for going to the Bahamas, but still much more to come with Coach Fleck here on the PJ Fleck Show, including an assistant coach getting recognized on the national level. Joe Rossi's, their defense has stepped up this season, and he's now a nominee for Top Assistant of the Year. We chat about that when we return on the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show. Let's row the boat.
Well, it's that time of the year when award lists are revealed, and Coach, one of your coaches is on one, and that's defensive coordinator Joe Rossi, a nominee for the Broyles Award that's given to the top assistant coach in all of college football. Your defense top 5 in many major categories in conference play this season. What does it mean to you as a head coach to see one of your own and a guy who you've been with for a long time get that type of recognition?
Yeah, I mean, it's well-deserved. I mean, I know that, he's a very, very humble man, and he's going to pass the credit to a lot of people, but, he's the leader of the defense and deserves a lot of credit. And I think his staff does an amazing job. Coach Chad Wilt, Joe Harrisimiak, Paul Haynes. I mean, those guys are rock stars. I mean, they're really, really talented, and they all work really well together cohesively. And I think Joe does a great job of delegating, but also, being the person who makes all the decisions at the very end and trust all of his people, and people love working for him. And he's just a phenomenal husband, father, wonderful coach, and we should be really proud that we have somebody on that list.
Yeah, Coach, when you look at linemen in the offense catching passes, so you got to look at Rutgers. You look at the Miami Dolphins, which I think that one probably was the best screen I've ever seen in my life. Has Daniel Faalele or any of your offensive linemen come to you or gone to the coaches like, hey, Coach, you saw that, it's my time?
Every day. They always think it's their day. I mean, I tell you what, if they all got a turn, we would throw the ball just to them and not the receivers. I mean, so, you know, it was a really good play, you know, not only from the Dolphins, but Rutgers, who did it last week. And, yeah, I mean, I just cringe with this hit, though. That's what you
Look at it,
like.
reach the ball over.
Yeah.
I know,
He knew where he was.
reached.
And there's the Rutgers one.
And here's the Rutgers one where he's going to reach it at the pylon as well. And but you never know. I mean, we've done some things in the spring game and never know when that's going to show its head again.
Last thing for me, Coach, you send oars, you know, for inspiration kind of all over the country, and a famous person found one in his hands within the last couple of days. Dick Vitale got an oar. He's going through cancer treatments down in Florida, and he's been pretty public with his battle there. Why is it so important, whether you know a person, whether you don't know a person, for you and your team to send those types of things around the country?
Because it's not up to us to judge who deserves one and who doesn't. I mean, everybody can row the boat. Everybody, you know, can use strength. Everybody can use prayers, and everybody can use who's going through really difficult times, knowing that people are thinking of them. And if our row the boat lifestyle mantra saying can make somebody smile for 1 minute, like that picture, no matter who it is, then we're doing what this program's designed to do, and that's serve and give, and make it about other people and make other people feel really good, not just ourselves. And you know, I've never met Dick Vitale. I don't know him personally, but our team wanted to be able to send him one, let him know we're thinking about him. And if we can just find a way to get him to smile through chemo and let him know what row the boat's all about, maybe give him a little bit more hope so he can find a way to beat it, then, you know, that's what we're called to do here on earth. And, you know, we're just, that's what it's always been about and always will be about.
Always great stuff off of the field, Coach. Best of luck this weekend on the field as you take on the Hoosiers.
I appreciate it, guys. Row the boat, Sky Mount, and go Gophers.
All right, that's it for us here on the PJ Fleck Show. We'll see you next week.